One second. Okay. So where we are, yeah. Let's first create a sample controller. That is my test controller. I'll create a test controller. So here I'll give one second. Okay, so I will give this as a controller. This is REST controller. Okay, now we will write. See, alternatively, what we can do, right? Uh, uh, let's say I'm just expecting a string message here. Okay, the one way is like it's a get request. So I will use a get mapping, and I will say this. But let's say test slash this one. Okay, also similarly, like I have like a public employee get employee. So here actually I have like another get mapping. It also starts with test slash get employee or employee, right? So these kind of things can come at you. This kind of things can come actually. Right? One way is actually you can do it at here itself. Request controller here. Value equals to slash test, right? Now, if you do that, your endpoint URL will be slash test slash this one. So let's say that okay, here just return null for the time being. So I'm not using this one. So let's actually start this server and first verify it whether it is working or not. Test control. Okay. Spring Boot application. I'm starting this. I think it's not working. Let me see. It's not for.
Sir,
Yes.
in REST controller, value is equal to you give slash test slash no, sir. You have to give slash.
No, it's not mandatory. No, same thing. Simply. No, no mapping, no mapping. Rest control. Just 1 second. Yeah, this is what I was trying it. Instead, this one. Try request mapping here. Yeah, now it's working, right? So this is the way actually you can, yeah. So this is the way you can make actually your URLs much better or simpler actually by annotating. Like most of the time actually you will be using one endpoint, one separate endpoints for your controller. So you can start giving you can start giving a request mapping at class level, and from there actually it will followed by the rest of things. You can give like it's same thing. Test both are same thing. So this one should work, right? It's working. So likewise actually you can give this one, right? And now most important thing is like how you will write a JUnit for this one. So in order to write JUnits, right, uh, we have actually pom.xml here. Okay, in pom.xml we will specify boot starter test, and notice that actually scope here, scope is test scope. That means this dependency will be utilized only during the testing phase, and similarly this one runtime. So this is actually when it will be used actually whenever libraries are running. Okay, the default scope is compile in pom.xml, and we have test scope, we have runtime, two other scopes. Okay, default scope is compile time. That means actually whenever you want to compile, uh, all all of this one are compile time jars. Okay, but this alone actually, this alone is a runtime jar. That means this will be utilized only during the runtime. Otherwise it just actually also there is provided when it time comes actually we'll know like one more thing provided. Uh, so this will not load into your memory until unless actually in the scope specified runtime, and this will be like a during the test phase only. Compile time will load every, no matter actually wherever it is. Like it will load even in your Eclipse workspace. It will load during the runtime. It will load loading the test time also. Okay. Next, what we need to do is, what first we will specify the JPA test here, and next actually in the controller. So let's say I'm writing a controller for test controller. Okay. So here I will specify this one, annotate with, in general, right? We had actually what is that? Our controller test was, sorry, our JUnit test was how we were testing with JUnit. What annotation we were using it?
And tester.
Right. So class level, there was, we were not giving anything, right? So what we were doing, like here actually method level, we were giving like, okay, for example, I need to test it. It's the same public void test. What is this? Test controller, right? Test. Okay, just we will use a test. Okay. Public void test, right? So if I specify here test, it is my JUnit, and I can execute it happily. Whatever the content here, actually it will execute. If it pass, it will pass it. Otherwise, no, right? But when it comes to MVC, right? Sorry, I think I haven't explained MVC. I will explain it in a minute. When it comes to a RESTful web services, these are like a client server protocol, right? It's those are running in a server, and you need to execute them. How you can execute them, right? So the server actually is not running. For example, let's say the server is not running, you will not get any response here. See, the site cannot be reached. You will get response only when server is up and running. But how will you write your JUnit test case for that one? So for that also, Spring MVC, Spring actually came up with a boilerplate code where actually it starts a server for you during, for the test cases execution only. It's not actually for uh, it's not for the um, running application. It's actually runs an embedded server for test case execution only. So for that, actually, what you need to do, you need to specify Spring Boot test. It's you need to tell, you need to decorate it as actually as a Spring Boot test. Okay, this is Spring Boot test. Now let's see what happens if you do the Spring Boot test. It actually encloses. Okay, okay. Now I need to give classes also. Classes means actually where my application class is there. Like what are my configuration classes? I need to give it. So let's say that it's a Spring demo application dot class. This is my application class, right? So where, look at this one. This is my application where I specify like a Spring Boot application. So I will specify the class for this one in my Spring Boot test. So what happens now? It goes inside this one. It runs the main method, okay, and starts the server. So let's see actually how it is working. Okay, so far nothing actually, right? We still see any differences. Now, what we do, enable web MVC. Okay, enable web MVC. So, no, mark MVC. Let me do it. I just created another annotation called mock MVC. I'm just telling that mock MVC create it. Now let's see what happens. So this is what actually I forgot the annotation. Auto configure mock MVC. So I gave that one. Now let's see what is it try. Yeah, this is also required. Run with Spring Runner. So we are telling that, okay, this test case run with the Spring Runner. If you see now, actually, it will run the container, right? It will run the container and then run the test case against that one. So this is what actually we need to use it when you are writing a test case. Now, right, let me step back and explain you like what is MVC. This is again very important concept, MVC. In many places, actually, you will be seeing that MVC. Okay, so it's MVC. What is MVC, right? Anybody knows it?
It is model view controller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
We
you are
use
absolutely
through
right.
entity. Right.
Okay. Not exactly. Let me. So this is your controller. Controller as what controller is controls something. Okay. And this is model. Model is something like it holds some data. Right? Model. Model means a home model. Home model means what? It represents something. And view. View is something like where you can see it how you are seeing it. That's what it is, right? So now, right, in any application, right, server side application, what happens? This is your yeah, this is your client, right? And you are requesting to a application server. Client is nothing but a browser, and it is going to the server, and the data is coming back. So many things are involved here. In order to differentiate actually each and every responsibility, they created the architecture called MVC architecture. What it means, okay, it actually just separates the layers. In olden days, actually, somebody was actually writing code in the client itself. Like a client in the client here is JSP or HTML page. In the HTML page, actually, they were writing code. Like they were getting the data, and after that, actually, they were getting like a business logic here. For example, let's say actually this request retrieves all the employees, and here what they were doing, they were actually doing a filtering. Get all, every time actually they were doing get all. Okay, you want actually a employee number one. Okay, search employee number one within the list, and in the HTML actually they are writing the code and it's coming. They were showing it up. It is actually dangerous approach, right? If client is actually not requesting entire data, client is requesting only for Saba, let's say that either Sabha or Shahid or Dakshani or Kavya, right? Why actually you need to retrieve all the data? Why can't you read only the specific data? That's one thing. And writing in client logic, right, is more dangerous. Another more dangerous is like I can click view page source and see like what is happening inside that. Right? For example, this is the one, right? Click view page source. I can see like a entire source actually how it is, what it is, and all. Actually, I can easily see. So it's not secured way of writing the code. So what we are doing, right? We want to separate that logic from the client. Okay. Now client represents, right, as you are seeing the data. As you are seeing the data, in this case, right, client represents the view. How you want to view it, right? Maybe you want a table view, you want a tree view, you want a different view. How you are representing this logic goes here. So it's a view is nothing but client code. It can be HTML, it can be something, it can go there. Now two things are there. View is completed. Now we have model and we have controller. Okay. Now, right, controller is nothing but when when the person actually requests data, right, this server, here actually we have a component which accepts this request, process this request, and returns him some response. That is what controller. Controller is actually, it's basically controlling the client request, how it needs to be there, how what needs to be there and all. So that's what actually controller. So what happens? View is our request. Okay. It creates a from view, we create a request. From view, we create a request. Okay. And controller will actually respond to that view and returns that in a model. So this is again goes to and fro. View creates some object, creates some model, right? It can be a model, it can be a parameter, or it can be anything. It creates and sends to controller. Controller fills back again this one and sends back to view. That is called model view controller. Right? We'll go again like a as and when actual time comes. We'll go in depth on this one. Right now, understand that controller is our Java code. View is in the somewhere like a HTML code. Models are nothing but entities or DTOs, right? Like a user, right? You are requesting a user information. User is a model. Controller is a user controller, where actually it accepts the request and sends back the user information. That's called controller. Okay, is this clear?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Is it yes or like you have question?
No, sir. Yes, yes. I understood.
Okay. Now let's coming back here. It's like a mock MVC, right? I am asking actually my Spring Boot to create a mock environment, not the actual environment where client can post the request. I want to post the request. Okay. I want to post the request and read the response. So create me a mock environment. Okay. That's what actually it will do it. So now, right, you created mock MVC. Okay. Now, how you perform the request is mock MVC. Okay. That means actually MVC environment dot perform. You will say that perform. Okay. And here actually we have mock MVC request builders. We need to build the request, like whatever browser we created, right? In localhost test. is there, right? We need to create this one. So in order to create that, I'll create, it's a get request. Okay, so you don't need to specify like a what is the port number and all, because this JUnit knows actually creates an embedded server specifically for this JUnit, right? So you don't need to specify the port number because it automatically knows it, but you need to give this one. Okay, test. This is what actually test. Okay, you need to give it, and sorry, so here actually we need to give expect, right? Once you post this one, this is like an assertion, like a what you are expecting. So I'm expecting, okay, again mock MVC result matches. It's there in the result matches. Status actually, the status what I want is okay, is everything is okay, is there any exception, or is everything is okay? And after that we can also say that expect result, right? This result I want to see actually whatever the result it is coming is result dot get response dot get content dot string is equals is this one, right? What is that? Where is my test control? This is what actually I wanted. Okay, this throws actually an exception because it can throw any of the exception through this one, right? So that's what it is. So what I'm telling, I'm repeating again, this perform, right? On this endpoint, make a request and add expect actually the request is processed smoothly, and my expected result is this one. When response comes, right, the response actually the result dot get response, right? This response, right? Earlier actually we had like a this string, right? That string actually I'm expecting need to come. Okay, let's see actually what happens in this case. Yeah, it failed it. Let's see like why it failed it. So what it is showing expected is 204, but actually we got like a 404 exception. Why?
Sir, in controller the return type of string here is a word.
No. Sorry, what's that? Can you tell me again?
Sir, in that main controller the return type of string here in test case it is a void.
No. Test case always wide. Again, remember that one. Test cases always are wide only.
Okay.
Test case methods always need to be wide and no arg methods. Test case method cannot take arguments.
So it is get mapping, right? So why we are used to get response? If it is put, we can what we use.
Yeah. Here it will change. We have like a put also here.
Sir, now in 27th line, you write them like optional class like result like that. Here, result dot get response you return.
Yeah, get response. From results, actually, like it will return the results, right? Whatever after this method will return, perform will return result, right? That's where actual result will come here.
Okay.
Don't expect. Okay, it's saying that no mapping. So we got 1 second. Let me see executing this application. Yeah, it is here. /test/test. 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 Now let me execute test controller.test. Now no mapping for get. No mapping for get. We have it. Test controller mock MVC. Let me try this at least. Slash. It's a login one. Okay. Change the name, but it's not relevant. Okay. Yeah, for some reason actually it was not recognizing that one because I had the same name, I think. It was considering test controller is here and it was not finding, it was overriding the source code. Okay, now it works, right? So it's actually going there and it's testing whether test is available, endpoint is available. First thing is it's getting there. And if an endpoint is available, it's checking if does it return a okay response, means successful response. And then it checks actually result is having that string called. Okay, that's how actually we'll write the test case. But this is JUnit test case. Before even going here, actually, there is one more way actually where you can test this one. That's called actually a postman, or let me see whether I have postman. Yeah, I have actually some REST API tools, right? Where you can see, right? It's not always browser is helpful. Whereas actually, if you want to use put request, right, browser cannot helpful. So what I will do here, I will come here, HTTP localhost. Okay, so it's a get request 8080, and then here we will specify test. You don't need it. These are old ones. See 200. This is the response you are coming. So this is a Postman, or it's advanced REST client. It's a REST client, REST client tools. This is another way of testing it, but this is called like a manual testing. Okay, you will use these things. You will give a endpoint, and you will hit that one, and you will use the. You will see the results actually if everything is okay or not. That is one thing. And alternatively, Spring, right? Not Spring actually. Somebody developed that API documentation. What is API documentation? For example, you are developing an API. Let's say Dakshayani is developing an API. Sabha don't know Sabha wants to use that API, but she don't know what is what it is, how it will be, how she can develop it, right? It's something like in earlier days, in previously I told like interface is one way actually where you can create your prototype and share it to your team, right? If you remember. So similarly here, right? Because these are APIs, we don't have interfaces, right? So what we do here, API documentation actually will generate and we will give it to them. What is API documentation? It's exactly like a same documentation, living document of your APIs, like how it is working, how it is, what request it will take, what request and all actually process. It's process that one. So that one we can do it using a concept called Swagger. When you say Swagger, it's API documentation. Again, it comes up with dependencies. So this one, right? Swagger UI. Okay, Swagger, right? These three things actually we need as a dependencies in your document XML, sorry, POM XML. Once you have them, right, in Spring Boot application, what you need to do? You need to make, okay, I created a separate config file, okay, called configuration. Not only this one, actually any another configurations also you can make it. Like it's in Spring Boot world. Okay, do you remember actually I created application context XML, and then we created the class path configuration and all, right? So similarly, this is like a Java way of representation, the XML, right? So if you remember actually in the application XML, actually I created a bean using the XML notation. But here, right, everything is a Java based notation. So I'm decorating this class as a annotating this class as a configuration, so that it reads this as class and it creates these beans. It's not a service, it's specifically designed as a configuration. When you say configuration, there will be like a only configurations, nothing else. It will not detect like any methods or anything, actually it will not detect it. So here, right, enable Swagger 2. This is one more I am telling that. Okay, enable WebMVC and enable Swagger 2. So enable Swagger 2 as soon as you tell that, right? In the pom.xml, it will go and it will enable this starter, right? It will recognize this one. Okay, somebody is asking me to enable a Swagger. So I will enable Swagger by using these dependencies. This one and this one. I will enable dependencies. So that's all actually you need it. So it brings up a live documentation for you. So if you go now, instead of doing this one, okay, what you need to do, Swagger hyphen UI slash. If you do that right, it brings up the API documentation for you. See, API documentation 1.0. You can create, again, these are all coming like a Docker, docklets. Docklet is nothing but a just hosting point. So where those are coming from, I specified in the Swagger config. Swagger to select any APIs, right? Any paths and build it. Just build that Swagger document based on all the paths. All the paths means whatever the paths actually it is listed, do that one. So that's why actually it came up like so many, like a basic error control, login controller, my controller, test controller, so many things. But basic error controller is actually not mine. It's somebody within the Java APIs. Somebody did that one. Login controller, my controller, test controller are mine. Okay. Now I want to avoid that one, right? So what I will do here, paths, right? So instead of here specifying paths.any, which means that any path actually it will take it. So what I will do, I will give a specific package. com.lmink. One second, I want to see the path, how we can give it. Yeah, APIs, base package. Okay, in the APIs actually I can give it. It's not this one. So here instead of any, so I will tell base package that okay, this is my base package. So whatever there in this base package controllers, only show that to me. So if I stop it and if I execute it again, now you will see in the Swagger UI, you will see only specified this error controller will be gone. Now we will see only ours, right? So similarly, actually we can change this name. Everything actually we can change it. So this one, Swagger new docket, right? Name, API info, right? API info. I can create like a new API. API info. API info equals to new API info. API info dot is just setter or builder. I think builder it is. API info dot contact, right? So let's say you can say that whom to contact. And let's say you want license. Okay, so it's, you can say that GNU license or Apache license, right? Next one, description. Training, right? So next one can give version. There actually we're seeing like a 1.0, right? Instead of 1.0, maybe you can try like a 2.0. Dot build. Okay. Now this API info, you will specify it here. Now let's see what happens. Okay. So I added all the details here. Okay, now let's see running this application. What happens? You will see all these details coming into your Swagger UI. See, it's coming 2.0. Training is my application, and I haven't given the name actually. That's why it didn't come. So like Apache license. So we whom to contact, all the things actually it is mentioned here. Okay. Likewise, actually you can create the docket information. I think for the main that's the description. I think we didn't add, oh, description we added. What else we are missing? License, contact, build,
The title.
title. Yes. So if I do that, I think that also will come. Title also. Yeah, Elming training 2.2 base URL. These likewise actually can create the docket. So that's what docket purpose is. And the rest thing is like how you can what packages you want, what paths you want, actually you can create. Most 99% actually this is a standard configuration in any organization, and it's a one-time activity, and most of the time it's a copy paste activity. So just try to be like a remember what is what. Okay, and you can find this information in Google, like a you can easily find out. So you don't need to actually see what it is, but it's mostly like a for information purpose. Next it comes to, okay, let's see like test controller. If I expand, you can see like all my endpoints here in my test controller, right? I have test, I have employee, right? Both are listed here. Okay, now let's say in order to test this one, right, I click on this one and I give like a try out. So I can say like execute, and you will see the results here, 200 results. Okay, what is the response we got it? Not employee. Okay, not this one. Yeah, test, right? So if you look into this one, like you can see like what this is the endpoint. Test is the endpoint. If it is okay, you are getting a string response. This is API documentation. You didn't do anything, but everything is done by the boilerplate code, right? So if it is a test, okay, it does not accept any parameters, okay, and it accepts if it is a 401, you will get a authorized. 403 forbidden exception. 404 is a not found exception, you will get it. Possible types actually. And here actually you have like a string. In case of okay, you will get a string response. So if you want to try it out, actually you can try it out by saying execute. This is what actually your response body is. Okay, this is another way actually where you will test it. It will be used for testing, and it will also be used to share your data to your co-colleagues. Your colleagues or your other partners, right, whom they want to implement it. This is the way you can do it. But actually still, right, it's not actually fully documented where you are seeing like you are saying like a test, right? What it is, how it is helping others. That's where if you go here, there is annotations, API operation. For example, if you say API operation, right, it asks you it actually provides a documentation for this one. Value test method. Okay, notes. So I added some more data. You can add it actually like a more details actually. HTTP methods, right? It's already there, right? That's why actually it's not showing anything. So what kind of tags actually? Is it like a integration test or you want like a features, right? Let's say tag equals to feature one. So this is related to feature one method. Okay. So you can make like okay a rerun, and if you see it now, right? So tags, right? Feature one. If you notice it, actually it came here. By tag wise also it will show it up. So users actually they don't need to actually search your entire documentation. Let's say what is feature again. When a big piece, as I explained, right, a big piece of development, they will divide into features. Okay, let's say you are developing a e-commerce website, okay, like a Amazon or Flipkart. Actually, we're developing it. So the future may be like a, okay, now this month actually you are rolling out uh, some let's say the Flipkart is already there, the application is already running, but actually you have some enhancement. One of enhancement is like uh, they're adding another payment. Okay. Another payment means earlier actually phone pay, Paytm, cash, credit card, all these things were there. Now they are adding another payment, another type of payment. That's called like a coin based payment. Means actually you can pay through Bitcoin. That is a feature, right? At the same time, they are also adding another feature, another extension feature that, okay, now their products actually not only delivered from the warehouses, but actually they are adding some more warehouses, local warehouses. Let's say actually uh, there are plenty of warehouses in Hyderabad. So to Hyderabad, actually the product will come within 1 day or 2 day. But whereas actually some rural people, right, uh, the warehouse is so far for them. So the products are getting delayed and they want to increase the sales. So what they want to do, they want to create local warehouses. Right? So that's another feature. So they will create like a feature, right? The future, this feature of the work is called like a kind support. Okay. Another feature is called like a warehouse, add new warehouse, right? So likewise, actually they can divide that one. It's like a, what feature you want to test it, you know it, right? Like a, let's say within your team, actually, some of your teams are working on a kind rollout. Like Dakshani is leading one team, Shahid is leading one team. Those are actually kind rollouts. Whereas Sabha and Kavya and Shravani, they are leading like a adding new local warehouses that support, right? So it's easy for them actually if you give tags to test it or to see like what are appropriate methods involved in this one. So let's look into this one like a test, right? Now you can see that, right? User can see, use this testing. Some notes actually where you are telling to your people. So likewise, actually you can create your API documentation and send it to your teams. Okay, you can see that expected responses. So any questions?
For me, no, sir.
Who
No,
are
sir.
there? Okay. Okay, Shravani, any questions?